their work as like putting the pictures in it. So like, so I couldn't really like focus on that. Because I finally got it to load and it's like the most annoying thing in the world is trying to do this. And none of my pictures loaded. I was doing that. But they're all there now. Right?
Good to go.
This is pretty good. I'm gonna crack the door. Has anyone here come to an event, a Jackson event before? So Jackson is something that I started about 2 years ago. To get the Jacksonville working community here. I'm excited about UX. I saw that the community is very developer heavy. This specific presentation is about how UX changed my life, and mostly about all the times, and I cuss, so if you're offended, I'm sorry. It's mostly about all the times I've messed up in my life and how that has made me a better designer. I think, and not just a designer, just a better person. I did this talk at HybridConf in Sweden this past August. It was very well received. So let's start. So this is all about like do what makes you great, whether it's like UX or development or whatever it is that you do. Do what makes you a better person. You should follow me on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. I have like one hell of a last name, so if you like need me to spell it like Evan just did, just meet me after and I'll. Giant disclaimer. I'm here on behalf of myself. I'm not tied to any of my clients or any of the places I work for. This is my experience. This is me. Kind of messed up there, but I'm a UX designer. But more importantly than that, I am a mother. I like to cook, like puzzles, board games, and these are my kids. That's Ella over there on the left, and Gemma and Max. I have 3. They're 5, 3, and 1. And like these 3 little tiny humans are the reason why I do what I do. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't even really know what UX was. So they're very much a part of this thing that all of us have learned. The American dream, right? Own a house, have a family, live a healthy life, die happy, and old. So this is my story of how I put my middle fingers up to everyone who told me no, and found a way to make my life great. So this is in chapters. So chapter 1, this is before UX. This is before I really got into it. This is me. 22 years old and very pregnant.
No tattoos.
Yeah, less tattoos, actually, yeah. I worked overnight as a front desk clerk at a courtyard. It wasn't even a good one. I went to design school, and, eventually, this happened. This is the first picture that was taken of me when I held my first child for the first time. Pretty embarrassing, but this moment, my life changed. And for the first time in my life, I felt like what I was doing wasn't enough. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I looked into her little tiny eyes. I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing? I'm wasting my time sitting at a front desk watching House all night. Like, I can do more. I can do better than this. And, like, I deserve better than this, and she deserves better than this. Mark Twain said something awesome and said the 2 most important days of life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. This is like, it really felt like that for me. It really felt like this is something that's life-changing. This is what I want to do. Like, I want to figure out how to make things better for other people. As a designer at the time, I did like some freelance stuff, but I never really committed to it, mostly because I was afraid. And like, afraid of what? Like, who knows? Afraid of the unknown, right? And so this is pretty much when OkCupid comes into the picture for like the first major time in my life. About a year after I had my daughter, I was reconnected with someone I knew from high school that through OkCupid, who worked at a bank. And he passed my portfolio on to a manager without telling me. I had no idea. And that manager tried to get a hold of me for like ever. This is a Palm Pre. This is the phone that I had when this manager was calling me. And I was driving in Charlotte, driving and talking on the phone with Legoland. He probably called me 6 times and my cheek kept hanging up on him. Like every time he called. And I was so mad. I was like, I don't understand it. This phone costs me so much money. Like, why does it keep hanging up when I answer it? Why? Like, he would start talking and I'd just hang up. I was like, how do you say I'm sorry that this phone sucks? But, like, I looked over at my sister and I was like, I wish I could make this phone better. I wish I could make this experience that I'm having better. And that's what brings me into, like, chapter 2. So this is about, like, learning what UX is. So that manager hired me. He hired me based on a print portfolio. He saw that I had something. And for the first time ever, I felt like what I was doing was like the right thing on my path, right? I became very passionate very quickly about what I did. And even though I didn't know much about UX, I started where everyone else did, which is Google. And this is Google's definition of user experience. It's the overall experience of a person using a product, such as a website or computer application, especially in terms of how easy or pleasing it is to use. And it, obviously, like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was young, first real job, and I messed up. And first thing I learned at work is that when you mess up, own up to it. Don't be afraid of failing. And I messed up. I sent some files, and they weren't the right files, and I tried to cover my ass, and it ended up not working. And my boss pulled me in a meeting room and was like, hey, I saw what you did. I saw you tried to cover it up, but, like, I want you to know, like, don't ever be afraid of failure. And this is the first time in my life that someone told me, don't be afraid of mess up. Like, it's okay. Get your hands dirty, like, get dirty, right? Especially as a girl. I've been told my whole life, like, don't get your dress dirty. Like, don't do this. And I'm like, all right, this is something I can go with. Like, don't be afraid to fail. So, everything changed. Soon after that, I was married. That is my first one, and my ex-husband. Pregnant with my second child. I was pregnant there. Except I was a contract employee. So this means that I worked for a bank, but I was working through another company. And I had to work no more and no less than 40 hours a week. Like, it's 40 hours and that's it. Which means when I had my second child, I was working 5 hours after I gave birth. Or I wouldn't be paid. It's not cool, right? So about 9 months after I had my daughter, this came into play again, and my marriage started crumbling. And I was like, what the hell did I do? Like what did I do? And I stopped looking at it like that, and it's like, it's not about what happened before. It's like, what can I do to change this? So I Googled what to do. And I did what any normal person would do. I packed up all my stuff, got into a relationship, and moved to Jacksonville. Here I am. I started this, which is something that I was really excited about. I helped start another meetup group up in Charlotte, and I saw an opportunity here, and I went with it. And then I was pregnant again. But this time I was working with a company that was full-time. They paid me maternity leave and all that.
I like the way it was one-sided first and second side.
Yeah. So I had this fancy title, right? Senior Digital UX Designer. But what does that even mean, right? All these titles are being thrown out. Senior, sure I had the experience, to be at that level. But my job was not anything UX related. It was copy and paste of janky code. And how annoying is that? How can you be inspired to work? So after working there for about a year, I left. And this leads me to the next chapter. And this chapter, it sticks with me because I learned a lot during this time in my life. And this came into play again. So, I felt like when I left when I worked at Everbank, I felt like, you know, with my initial feelings about taking that job, I didn't feel it. Like, sure, it was like awesome money and like the team like seemed awesome and all that, but like it just didn't feel right. And like with the job that I took this time, I was like, okay, like this feels right. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go with like how things feel from here on out. I decided to embrace the talents that I did have. I'm really good at learning about people. I'm really good about like seeing how people use things and analyzing that, putting all that together in a way that other people just like they have a really hard time doing. So I took a look at this, which is the UX Onion, and I started applying it to like everything, for like my life, my designs, everything. And most of all, like this, is it useful to me, right? And it's hard to like take a look at this and like put this on my life because you know you become like overanalyzing of everything, which is like a blessing and a curse, right? But like really, like you're building like your life how you want it to be, just like you would build a product or anything. You know, just like apply this to what you want to do. So this is how I became a princess. Started working at a job, same names, but I applied this basic like formula to like all the design problems I had. And it's from an article that I read on Office Mastery Magazine. And it's pretty much says like, as a white knight, I need to slay the dragon so that I can save the princess. And a few months after that, I began speaking more and more, and I gave a talk like last year I put on the beach about being UX. And that's when things got really crazy, right? So this is about becoming a white knight, right? It's like, who wants to be a princess? And I can be a white knight, right? So this came into play again, right? I realized one day that I was working a lot. 60, 70-hour weeks. Why? Why? Like, I didn't need to do that. So I started working smarter. I started reading things like the 4-hour workday or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm working dumb. I need to work smarter. I won't have to work less. So I started working like normal 40-hour week. That wasn't okay. The people I work for. I was like, why? They're like, you need to be at your desk for 8 hours. I'd come in, I would go outside to like work because it was stuffy, like cubicle, like couldn't get any creative smoke. How are you expected to work somewhere where it's so like robotic, right? It's hard. Especially when like no one else around you is a designer, almost developers, right? So one day, after sitting at my desk for more than 8 hours, like I was told, they said to me, Natasha, you need to stay late. I said, no. A couple days later, on Halloween, what I was wearing, I was let go from this company, dressed as a cat. I was supposed to be let go the night before, and by let go, they told me that they cut my position completely. So my position was cut. They were hiring a contractor. So I was like, whatever. Right? So I got a lot of calls from recruiters, I think. A lot. Mike, you probably remember this. I did. I called people because I like but I got
everyone.
Yeah. I got a lot of calls from headhunters that day.
She makes a lot of money on the side of the firm, you get developers and designers.
Yeah, I do. My phone literally did not stop right now. But like that entire weekend, Halloween weekend, I just wanted to be a professional. You know, wanted to shop around. So my friend Jordan, who works at Mozilla, he said, Natasha, you should apply here. I logged into resumator.com. Is everyone familiar with Resumator? It's like a job application website. I logged in. But what did I see? I saw the 32 denied applications from OpenCupid. So of course I applied again. And this is about becoming a dragon, because who wants to be a white knight when they can be a dragon, right? So like this like working at OkCupid was my dream job, literally. Like I was working at a great job, and I had to tell them after 3 weeks of working there that I'm moving to New York in just like 2 weeks. And I'm sorry, but this is my dream job. It came with sacrifices. I had to leave my children in Charlotte. I traveled like to see them, like to spend the quality time that I would normally do, like normally have, like I would just have FaceTime calls, which is a lot of sacrifice, especially as a mother. It's really hard. And at OkCupid, I ran a whole bunch of experiments. And I thought, this is kind of fun. I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to shoot people in America. It wasn't really like that. There's a whole bunch of people just sitting on the desk typing all day, which is fine. You're there to work, but still, I expect it to be something, right? We got free breakfast, which is great. So I applied this idea of like build, measure, learn my life, because of course the U.S. Onion wasn't enough. Like I had to like run experiments in my life. So like this, like the build part of build, measure, learn. Like what do I need? Is it, my relationship isn't working and I need to find something that I'm compatible with? Is it a job that gives me the feeling of being inspired and and that job wants me to grow as a person? Like, or is it like a new dress or a new pair of shoes? Like what do I need? So, and this works for anything, like making a product, redesigning your life. You set doable goals based off these things. And doable is like, you're going to have people, like product owners, who come to you and are like, hey, we need this, this, and this, and this. It's like, okay, so, but what you really need to ask is, what do you need to launch? Like what do you need for your MVP, whether it's like a product or like your life or anything, really. You really have to like identify any issues that you're having, and remember that failure isn't final, right? Like, it's never final. And then you measure, like test yourself by trying to reach your goals. Like you're trying to lose weight, okay, get up and run every day. It's not working, like take away food from your diet. Little things like that, like little tests that you do, like whether it's like your life or whether it's an application. Maybe it's the content is wrong. Maybe more people are clicking on an email that uses more modern like language versus an old stuffy marketing, right? And then learn. Like, did you reach your goals? Like why or why not? And why does this even matter? Right? So, with that said, I wrote my own requirements document, and this requirements document did not include it. And then that leads me to chapter 7, fail. Like lean UX, the whole idea around that, like you can't ask others to wait until we have it all figured out, right? We need to continually engage our support system, whether it's like your family, your friends, like at work, it's so coworkers, like the PAs. You have to really take advantage of the tools that you have, and that's not just like a computer or application or like knowing a coding language. It's about talking to all the key people that are involved in creating a product, right? Like build, measure, learn until you have everything figured out, like until it works, right? That's what it's all about. And most of all, like don't be afraid of failure. Like lots of people who are very successful fail. There are some. Thomas Edison. Just him, I hope he does. Yeah. He said this after failing to create the light bulb, which is super awesome. He said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success and they gave up. Like Winston Churchill. He failed the 6th grade, and he was defeated in all of his goals in age 10. Then he became the Prime Minister of Britain at age 62. Okay?
Mother was married.
Man, I should write that in there too. Is that a failure? Depends on where you're at, I guess. Yeah, maybe. So Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper that he worked at, and he was told he had no imagination, none, and no good ideas. Then he released Snow White. Put his middle fingers up, right? Whatever. Oprah was even told that she was not fit to be on screen. Look at her now. And Steve Jobs. Come on, you felt pretty hard, eh? Nah. So chapter 8, like, become great. You know, it's really hard to look at like the things that you're building and like this is you know relating to my life. It's really hard to say, okay, my first idea, which this is usually how it is, my first idea didn't work, so I'm going to move on to the next one. A lot of designers, a lot of UX people make the mistake in thinking that the first idea is the best idea, and the first idea is never the best idea. If you're not making like 1,000 sketches and you're not sketching all the time, especially when you have like new products, like how do you like test your thoughts against one another, right? Like I'm sketching all the time. You know, you just have to say to yourself, okay, example, me personally, like I said to myself, Natasha, do you want to be happy? The answer to that is yes. Like, so why don't you just make yourself happy? So I did this. I did this experiment to see if applying these UX principles to my life would make me different. And it has. It's made so much difference. Like, look at this. Like, I'm smiling and happy again. Like, I get to spend my time doing things that I want to do. I get to be smart, you know, and work smart. And now, I can work where I want to work versus where I need to work, which is something that, you know, it's a luxury, and it's a luxury I definitely take for granted, and I'm sure like a lot of us do. But, you know, learning that you're really passionate, like when you become so passionate about something that you apply the principles of it to your life, it really changes things. And I've read a lot of books about this. The Happiness Project is one of them. It's more girly, not really a guy book, but I'm sure. So some final tips. Steve Jobs said this in his commencement speech. I have to read. I'm sorry, I hate it. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. And that is why when I left Open Cupid, it felt right. Because again, I felt like my life was realigned on the right track. And you know, go for your goal. Try to aim for outcomes, not outputs. Create only what's necessary, right? You know, never stop researching to try to make yourself or your product or whatever better. Like, learn first and scale second. And make better mistakes tomorrow. We are not apps. We aren't. But if we apply the idea of like build this alone, then we can make choices in our lives that will ultimately lead us to be happier. You got to make better mistakes tomorrow because you're the only person who can change your life. Don't be afraid to fail, even if you don't fail fast enough. Like the idea of failing fast is all over the place, and that's good and all, but what if you can't? Like whether it's like at work, personal life, whatever. Like no one's perfect. Go outside, master your craft in ways outside of technology. Because you guys have my permission to fail. And and that's it. It's sort of like a truncated version of my talk, having to delete some slides. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about anything? Ask me next time you relate to this talk. Oh, that's awesome. It's like a lot of like here's who I am as a person. Oh, yeah. But yeah, ask questions. Go ahead.
In your journey, how has your outlook about design on modern form factors evolved, and how is it at this point in time?
So there's a lot of things going on in the world of design, right? There's like material design, there's all this iOS 7, 8, whatever. It's all stuff that's happening, but really, like what they're doing is like backtracking. I feel like that's what I feel like. I feel like everyone is going back to like initial design principles, right? So, and that's how I look at everything. Like, you can show me this cool thing, and that's great and all. And that works for them. That probably is not going to work for you. And you have to really build a solid foundation. Um, that if there's anything that I've learned that's like the most important thing, besides like not being afraid to fail, and like your first answer is never the right answer. It's that like everything's changing, right? At the same time, everything's the same as it's always been. You know, that's why like I don't know. I'm never really overwhelmed with how fast technology is moving. The generation like right before mine is very overwhelmed. Actually, this keynote thing that I had, this issue I had earlier, you should have heard me. I was over it. I was like, I'm never touching a computer again. Like that's what I was saying. But I mean, if anything, my journey has just opened my mind to saying, okay, like you can be the biggest brand, one of the most well-known brands in the world, and you can put a shiny skin on it, make it pretty. But you know, like at the end of the day, if it's not usable, then it's not going to work. Be as pretty as it wants to be. You make your product look like MailChimp or whatever, but it's not going to work. It's a waste of time. And putting all your money and energy in that, like, you know, that's cool, but that's not something I'm into. Like, I want to build products that work. I want to be a part of teams that, like, that I can say, hey, like, I worked here, and this is what I did. Like, I made an impact. Like, I'm not afraid to say that to anyone that I'm, like, working with. And, like, really having a sense of ownership with the products that you're working on, like, helps a lot. Like, really, like, taking whoever's idea that was, whether it was yours or someone else's, and make that your baby, right? Make that yours. Because if you don't feel it in your heart, then it's not going to work.
Talk a little more about your time at OKQ.
Sure. My first slide in this was like, I like edited some, but my first slide had like the OkCupid logo, and it's like, I know you guys are only here because I work here, but you know, it's about me. But so anything like specifically at OkCupid?
What like impact you have studied there?
Probably the thing that most impacts me the most, probably like working with the data. My role, I worked directly underneath the president as his personal design puppet. It felt like, and he just wrote out. He didn't just write the book. He wrote it like last year, but it just came out. It's called Dataclism. His name is Christian Leonard. It's super awesome. And my time at OkCupid was looking through all the data and trying to analyze it, which like I'm not an analyst by any means, but you know I'm smart enough to understand people, and I just said, okay, why isn't this working? Or why haven't we tried like this or this or this? And I would just, you know, put them out there, and it either worked or it didn't. It was fun because 1% of users was like 100,000 people. So we could push an experiment out to 1% of people and get like fast results, like in a week. And you can read more about the experience and stuff on the OkCupid blog. That was one of my projects as well. But it just started up again after like 3 years. It's blog at OkCupid.com.
So for OKQ, you work like on the website?
Yeah, well, the website and the app.
And the app?
Yeah, like the experiments weren't on one platform or the other. Mm-hmm.
I was very new to the UI. I can't I have not heard of it until now, actually. So,
Really? UX?
yeah.
Really? Is this your first time ever hearing that?
Yes.
What do you do?
Like networking side, but
Oh.
this is way more intriguing.
It is because
way
like
cooler than
because it's not just about apps.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about apps or like websites. It's like, how am I going to plan my kitchen based on how I wash my dishes? It's stuff like that. It's like the satisfactory click of like a cabinet, right?
Yeah.
It's little things like that. Like, I guess Apple has a little speaker in their mouse to make the click sound or something like that, or they used to or something. That is, what I do. And it's just, it's not related, like, it's not just with apps or like, it's with everything. And I'm very specific about everything. So, like, I have certain ways, like, I always find the most efficient way to do something, like, for me, because it's different for everyone. It really is. And I'm so annoying about it, that, like, if someone drives a different way than I'm used to, I'm like, whoa, where are you going?
Yeah.
Don't go crazy.
Right.
But, yeah, it's stuff like that.
So when you had your first experience working with things and then started to kind of build, did you have a degree or a background in design? And then how did you make that leap of convincing someone, I don't have the background,
Yeah.
but I get people and I get how they do things?
So my background, I don't have a degree. I went to school, but I left. I was like, this is a waste of money, waste of my time. But I had a design background. Well, it's before that. I guess now it's front end development. Then it wasn't. It was just like playing on the internet, right? I had like all my friends' bands made websites. So in high school, I made the websites, and then I worked for like a boutique design agency that was in Charlotte, but it was like print. It was like mostly print. And then I was like, all right, well this is cool and all, but how do I apply this to the stuff I already know about making websites? And I just sort of like put two and two together. And I started like, Reddit and Big and all those sites, and I started being really involved with like really focused on the front end development part of things, and I was like, why? Like I'm way better at this. So I pivoted. I was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on design, and like that's around the time I had my first daughter. I had all this extra time in my hands. So I just started looking into like web design. At the time, that's what it was called. No one had left UX. It was like having UX in your head. This was when it was new. And my friend had just sent over my portfolio to that guy, and the guy was like, "We need to have her. We're going to make a position at the company." And he did. I was very honest with him. I was like, "Listen, I have no idea what I'm doing." He was like, "Neither do any of us." And even now, like I troll people on Twitter, and it's like a blessing and a curse, right? Trolling. But Ethan Marcotte, who he like made Responsive Design, I am his #1 fangirl. If he's watching. Hagen. Not creepy or anything. But I would always tweet him like, "Do you have any advice?" And he'd always post these animated gifs of like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I talked to him like we went to like a party for a conference or something, and he like stepped on my foot. I said, "Oh God, the grandfather of responsible design." And remember that, CJ?
Yeah.
And he honestly, he has no idea what he's doing. No one really does, because every experience that we go to design for has probably never been designed for, right? Like all this stuff is new, right? We're still learning. Like no one knows the answer to anything really. It's all it is testing and testing and testing, and like just everyone makes assumptions, and you test those assumptions. They're either right or they're wrong, and you just move on, right? Like the hard lessons I've learned is letting go of your ego. Right? Do I want to be the best at everything? Yes, I do. But I want everyone else to be the best at everything too. And it's a very high standard I hold for people. But to me, like, well, is there another way to live? Like if you're not growing, what's the point? Whether it's like, emotionally or you know, in your business or whatever. You know, I constantly want to be on the move. And, you know, I had someone ask me very recently, you know, why do you switch jobs a lot? And I do. Like if you look at my history, like I'm at this for like a year and then I'm like, bye. And it's because like I just don't see like where I am in my life and where they're at as a company aligning. And it's not ever a decision that I take lightly, but it's to me it's more important for me to be happy than to be in a job that I hate. And I'd rather whatever. Like there's jobs, and if there's not, then like I'll find a way to make do because I always do. And I feel like you know it's the same for everyone. Like we always find a way to make it work. So I let go of that fear of failing. And I was like, just gonna embrace that.
I have a question. You mentioned that you're jotting down a lot of ideas. What sort of problems are you interested in solving without having giving away your stealth products?
You know, it's really hard to answer.
Okay.
I guess as far as like things that intrigue me are anything that I find like if there's a product and I'm like, all right, this doesn't exist and it's a really cool idea. Like I'm interested in those sort of things. I'm interested in companies weaving together like big sites and making one app out of that. I'm really like anything that I can test things on anywhere with a bunch of users, like if that exists already. A lot of the stuff that I work on is either like new, it's mostly new stuff, as far as like doing consulting and stuff like that. But really, like, it's less about the company and more about the people that run the company, right? Like, I always try to meet like with the CEO just to see like where their priorities are, because I do not want to work somewhere that's developer led. No offense. Because I've had issues in the past with that, and fighting that battle is a really hard battle to fight, and I just don't have it in me anymore. Um, you know, I pretty much know what I don't want, and I can tell within like a second of being at that place if I want to be there or if I don't. And once I start not wanting to be there, forget it. Like that's it. I check out. And blessing and a curse, right? Like, but that's how people are. And I don't want to be that person who's been working somewhere for 8 years thinking, what have I done for the last 8 years? What the paycheck? No, I want to say, hey, I worked at every Cupid for 7 months doing experiments on millions of people. It was awesome. Or like I built this, or I helped build this, or as a part of this. Like that's what I want to have. Everywhere I worked, or everywhere I have worked, I've really believed in it. And like the work that I did, I really believed in that. And it's rare. It really is.
Other than like going outside, do you have any other like good
I don't really like
your
yeah. I don't know. I listen to music. Sometimes that doesn't work. I don't know. I can sit there and like do like different links about whatever's going on in design. But that's not really the stuff that like gets me like excited. More about like looking at data. Sounds so weird. And this is from a VP, I'm sure. But seeing how I can make something perform better. And whenever I like look at a problem or like a company has a problem, like they need more upgrades or something like that. Like looking at the data actually really inspires me because I can see what's working, what's not working, and then I get 1,000 different ideas of how to like make that better, or those are probably wrong. So I test those until I get the right thing. Being inspired. I don't know how many guys have designed, but it's hit or miss. Some days you really don't want to do any work, right? It sucks, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and you have the answers to the problem that you're working on. This is real. Like this stuff is real. This happens, and like that sort of stuff is what really drives me. It's not really like I'll go outside and I'll use like rocks to build a UI or something like that, or I'll use build a UI with Play-Doh. People think I'm crazy for this stuff, and that's fine. Like, people can think whatever they want. But at the end of the day, I try to do the best that I can do, and I try to do it in a way that doesn't really depend on a computer or anything like that to get inspired. So, did they answer the question? I watched TV. I don't know. I'm trying to think it like I was living in New York and I would never really been anywhere. I became extremely like introverted. But listening to music, thinking as anyone else is doing stuff. I don't know. I guess thinking back to the day of like that freaking palm tree, man. Like thinking back to that day of like wanting to make things better, like having that feeling inside of me, like that's what really inspired. Like remembering that feeling and saying, okay, I've conquered that feeling. Like I've fixed it. I've made things work, and it's helped me a lot.
Can you think of an example of like the OKT that are unique to data to make something better, like a problem?
Yeah. So yeah.
Kind of big data before there was big data.
Yeah. So example, at OkCupid, we saw that email marketing, right, was being like not really used to the advantage that it could have. So we saw that in the data that men were more likely to upgrade because OkCupid is a premium service. Men were more likely to upgrade, and men who upgraded and who messaged someone that people have the ability to like each other on the site. So I could like you, and you could see that if I liked you, if you were A-list, or if you liked your back. But if you were free, you wouldn't be able to see that unless you liked me.
On the premium services, we're able to tell if people like
Yeah. Without it being a mutual match. Right?
Yeah.
So we made this email and went through and I found a whole bunch of hot girls. And I made this collage of their pictures. And we did this the subject line. It said we tested two different things. We tested just like a basic content that's like know who likes you before you message them. We tested that, and we tested another version that said know before you yo. And that know before you yo will now outperform the other one by a lot, right? And so then we're like, why? Because obviously it was the copy. So I was like, okay, well, if they want this fun language, I'm going to start doing more fun things. And there was another email that we had, and it was for users who bounced off of the upgrade page. It offered them a 20% discount when they bounced. So like 2 days later. So in the data, we saw that between 2 days was the best time to like go back and ask a person, hey, cool. A few days later, there'd be an email, and it would say, hey, saw that you bounced. Here's 20% off or whatever. And so I made a different version of that email that said, find that extra special somebody. And it had this god-awful illustration of a whale with an ice cream cone upside down on its head, pretending to be a narwhal, right? And like, it was sort of the idea that like, when you become an A-list premium member, that you could really refine your search results by exactly what you want. And that, made OkCupid a lot of money, like a lot more money than they were making. And so it performed well. And it's sort of like little things like that we could see very fast, like if it, like with the data that we got. So like market this to men. So like we would send out different emails to men and women and stuff like that. And and I talked about this at Kid on the Beach. I don't know if any of you were there. But I talked about designing for data and I'm actually in November I'm going to be in Net Magazine's like their opinion piece, an opinion call or whatever about designing for data, and I pretty much feel like it tells us a lot, right? But it's not the end all be all by any means. And a lot of companies are really like pushing like data, 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 data. I'm like, that's good, that's cool, but you still have to find that human connection. And you know, I feel like that's what was missing with the emails that we were getting at. We saw that data, but we were missing that extra piece of human. And that human piece, that funny stuff that OpenCupid was known for, really like, you know, showing the users that, they really reacted positively to that. And, you know, we would have never known that if we didn't look at the data.
Yeah. You probably got an equal response and everything when you get the play, right?
No, women are fickle. It was hard to market the premium service to women. So we did other things that I'm not talking about in the video. But so we did other things, other tests to see, you know, what women were interested in and if they were interested in the service, which for some were. But at the end of the day, as far as dating sites go, typically there's more men than women. But OkCupid has a pretty equal amount. I believe like 46% of the users are women, which is good. And you know, it doesn't matter because being a woman on OkCupid, I can tell you that doesn't matter if you're a girl, you can get like 1,000 messages. How do you sift through that? You know, so we're trying to find better ways, like writing an algorithm to get to figure out how good of quality is the message or something. You know, really, it's a lot of hand-holding for the users, but that's what you gotta do. You know, you can't expect a user to know. That sort of answer.
Yeah, did you profile the demographics and everything with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you can really narrow down as far as looking at the data. You can really get into pretty detailed views. Have you looked at the OkCupid blog at all?
No.
It has some pretty good insights on that. OkCupid, it's blog at okcupid.com, and another good blog for data insights, and you guys are looking at I'm crazy. But Pornhub has an awesome insights blog. It's safe for work. It's yeah.
So that's my wife. Right?
Yeah. No, just be like, there's nothing on there.
Research.
Yeah, but it's actually really a really high quality insights blog. It's crazy, but they will tell you. For example, OkCupid found with its data, and there's a blog post about this, so I can say this. With the data, we saw that questions to ask on a first date. Right, this is what the blog was about, and it's about some questions that you want to find out on a first date. So you might want to find out if the woman that you were seeing will sleep with you that night. So with the data, we found that women are more likely to sleep with men on the first night, at the first date, if they like to taste the beer. So you ask a woman if she likes to taste the beer, and she's more likely to sleep with them. Wow. Things like that.
Yeah, well, actually, it's also tattoo folks too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Probably.
Yeah.
So,
I teach my wife English about that. She has tattoos and she smokes.
Oh, now we know. But yeah, there's a lot of blogs out there that are fascinating, insights. I'm telling you that data closing book is where it's at. So you guys should pick that up. It's on iBooks or something. It's pretty good. But anyone else? Feel free to ask away. You can tweet at me. I'll spell my last name for you.
I don't know how anyone, but how does someone do it?
I don't know. Everyone always asks me that. I don't know how I got into it.
Well, obviously, she failed a bunch of jobs out of college, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I got my GED.
It's a very
Dropped out of high school, got my GED. You know, you don't need a degree to do this. I mean, you coming out here is a great first step. Just learning like what it is. Like, I don't know, start looking at the apps you use and think like, how could this be better? Or like, why was this made like this?
Yeah.
Like Facebook. Like I'm constantly asking, what's Facebook doing? Like who knows these days, right? Like who knows? Sorry, Facebook, if you're looking at me. Like I said, these are my opinions, not anyone else. But I'll change them. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, you coming out here is a great first step.
Yeah.
I mean, going out to events, looking, just Google UX, look at that great definition, and you know, just start examining all the things that you interact with on a daily basis, like driving a car. But a lot of people don't think about like a car is a UI,
Yeah.
and like a lot of people don't think about that. Like whoever made the car I'm driving is dumb because there's 1,000 blind spots. But it's great because it's all digital and I can see something.
Crazy about coming here. I don't know what it is, faith or something, but it's like that. This is something that I'm always thinking
Get on
about
your path.
all the time.
Something wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
yeah.
It's true.
Like research, honey, it's research.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, their insights block is so detailed.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It really is.
I swear to God, I'm doing that.
I read their blog. So I used to jailbreak my iPhone and like tweak it, creating different things,
Yes.
and making my user experience more enjoyable on the phone.
So you're
I
already UX designer.
Loved it. I also created a website and I just continually made it better and made it better and made it better. But I love doing that, and I
But
don't know where.
what does better mean? See, that's the thing. It's so subjective because like better can mean prettier, better can mean more leads.
Oh yeah.
You know, it could be anything like that, and that's what's hard about it. Is because everyone has a different idea of what a good website is, what a good experience is, and designing for that is really hard. Like really, like it's taking a look at all the problems and breaking those problems down into the simplest form and solving for that. And once you do that, like you have a foundation that won't crumble. And it happens all the time. Like apps are built that, you know, like they don't have a strong enough foundation and they go to push to production and just crumble. And it happens everywhere. It really does. Yeah, it happens everywhere. Honestly, I would say that Foursquare, yes. But you know, everyone fails. You just gotta like stop letting that deter you from doing anything. Like take the chance, right? Like how was I supposed to know that Yo before Yo would outperform the other one? I had no idea. It was a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyone else got anything? Feel free to ask. This is kind of a last minute thing for me, even though it was on there for like a month. I'm sorry. Still, like, we like literally traveled the world for the last month. I've definitely been over like 10,000 miles traveling, well over, for sure.
That was sweet.
It was nice. It was beautiful. Everyone spoke English. Everyone was nice. Food was good. The conference was amazing. Like, that handsome is my best friend. But yeah.
Travis was speaking too.
Huh?
Travis.
Oh yeah, Travis. Oh yeah, yeah, he was there. Yeah, how could I forget about Travis? Yeah, Travis was there. Carl Smith was there. Yeah. So, got to hang out with them. It was a fun time. Yeah, Travis mentioned that he was looking.
Yeah, he was one of the.
And
He had an ownership with Interlinks. He was one of the original people of Interlinks.
yeah, Carl Smith said that like Travis saved his life.
Yeah.
That's no.
Yeah, I mean that's where
I know.
what used to be 20.
Yeah, let's hope that they still are. Because I really like Square. But sorry. They killed it, right? That Apple Day. It's okay.
Only one bridge.
Yeah, I know. It's true. So if no one else has any questions, we're gonna close this up. Evan, I don't know how this fancy camera is working. Bye,
It's
guys.
working good. Say bye.
It was fun. Bye.